Before I come to the crux of the lecture, I will just share a few things from the last set of lectures on noumena and phenomena. The title of this section in your course outline is Civilizational Perspective on Culture. If you follow classical sociology of Europe, then it is clear that this section does not deal with phenomena of civilization. Rather, it deals with noumena of civilization. Civilizational perspective, the way I understand it and the way I am sharing to you today in this class, is primarily noumenal study of civilization, and from this noumenal civilizational perspective. But then there is a debate, and I have already discussed in previous weeks that some of them, at least, for example, Emile Durkheim, Marcel Mauss, Claude Lévi-Strauss, and to some extent also Karl Marx, if not the other Marxists, they also do refer to the phenomena and the noumena debate. Therefore, my European and American sociologist friends, they suggest, or they have been suggesting since 1984, that I should not call it civilizational perspective, I should call it Indic perspective or Indological perspective or traditional perspective on culture. But I am a habitual offender in academics. I have listened to these advices, but I call it what I call civilizational perspective on culture. But for you, it is better to know that European scholars do not accept it as civilizational perspective on culture. Rather, they will call it Indological perspective, Indic perspective, traditional perspective on culture. But since this is an optional course, I will share what I do feel is the correct version. This is certainly not Indic perspective. This is certainly not Indological. Yes, to some extent it can be called traditional perspective on culture. And the scholars are both European and American, as well as Asian and Indian. I will share some of the reference materials, and I do not expect that you will read any of them. But at least you must listen the name, who are those authors, whose writing I am referring. In this section of lectures, there will be a series of lectures within civilizational perspective. And this is both introductory and indexical. Introduction you understand, from introduction, introductory. Index you do not understand, so far as I know, because we do not teach you in first 2 semesters about index of culture. This is the only course which introduces the course to you, and then some of other teachers may refer to some of these readings, but certainly not all, in the substantive courses which they teach. You just listen, there is no need to make a note, because I do not expect you will read, and then I am getting it recorded, it will be uploaded for you. The first scholar who is important reference point for this course is the same person who wrote this, Anand Kumar Sharma. Now he has written many books, but I have just underlined 5 books for you, or anybody who is interested in reading or contemplating in greater detail on Kumar Swami's view on civilization. The first book is titled Time and Eternity. The second book is entitled Transformation of Nature in Art, the book I had showed you. Third book is Figures of Speech and Figures of Thought. Fourth book is titled Spiritual Authority and Temporal Power. Time and Eternity, Transformation of Nature in Art, Figures of Speech and Figures of Thought, Figures of Speech and Figures of Thought, then Spiritual Authority and Temporal Power. Now, there are many books besides these 4 which are as sacred as the religious text of any religious community, like the Bible or the Quran or the Vedas or the Jain Avesta or the Dhammapada or Guru Granth Sahib or whatever. But I have, included collected essays. Now these are large number of essays, and therefore one of the American university press had published it long ago in 3 volumes, collected essays in 3 volumes. The first volume is called Kumar Swami's Essays on Metaphysics. The second volume is titled Kumar Swami's Writings on Art and Symbolism. And the third volume is related with the biography of Kumar Swami, both biological biography as well as intellectual biography. Now the second important author is Radha Kamal Mukherjee. And like Kumar Swami, I have also underlined among his 40 odd books, only 5. The first book is Symbolic Life of Man. The second book is Cosmic Art of India. The third is called The Structure of Social Values. The fourth is called Secrets of Civilization. And the fifth is called Destiny of Civilization. Now the third important author after Kumar Swami and Radha Kamal Mukherjee is Sri Aurobindo. He is also known as the Sage of Pondicherry in South India. Although he was born in eastern India, he was a Bengali born in Odisha. And I have included also 5 of his many books. I have included 5 books from a list of more than 60 books. According to me, these 5 books represent his writings on civilization. The first book is available in 2 volumes, and it is titled Secrets of Vedas. Secrets of Vedas. It is available in 2 Indian languages, English and Hindi, and many European languages, particularly in French. And this is true about all his 5 books. After Secrets of Vedas, I am underlining Foundations of Indian Culture. Then the third book is Synthesis of Yoga. The fourth is called The Human Cycle, and it discusses about the cyclical view of time, like the European authors Oswald Spengler, Arnold Toynbee, and Ephraim Alexander Sorokin. And the 5th book is Savitri. Then there is a series of books available in Hindi language, and those who cannot read Hindi, just listen the name, because I am not expecting that you will read any of the books I am just referring, at least in this semester. His name is Hajari Prasad Dwivedi. And he has also written many books which are available in 12 volumes. But I am not referring to any volume, because in one volume there are more than 4 or 5 books. I am referring to 2 books and then 3 articles available in collected works of Hajari Prasad Dwivedi. The first book is Hindi Sahitya Ki Bhumika, Introduction to Hindi Literature. Second book is called Kabir. Kabir was born in 14th century India, in eastern Uttar Pradesh, and he was illegitimate child, and he was found in the river Ganges or river Ganga. But the mother which left the baby Kabir in the type of dress and garland was symbolically representative that Kabir was born in a Hindu family and perhaps he was illegitimate child of an unwed mother, and therefore she did not have courage to face the world without marriage with her son, and therefore she gifted it to Mother Goddess Ganga. Ganga is both a river and a Mother Goddess. In India, rivers are usually regarded as Mother Goddess. But fortunately or unfortunately, the person who found Kabir, the baby Kabir, was a childless Muslim couple. He is regarded as one of the founding fathers of Bhakti movement in North India. And this book by Hari Prasad Dwivedi, a student of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore of Santiniketan, is regarded as a well-researched book on Kabir, and although the original is in Hindi, but it has got many translations in many languages. Then these are two books, independent books, but in the volumes they are sandwiched. Now I am referring to three of his seminal research articles. One is Kalidas Ka Lalit Tattva. Kalidas was a very important author of Sanskrit in ancient India, and he occupied in Sanskrit literature the same place which Shakespeare occupied in English literature. Of course, Shakespeare is 16th century phenomenon, late 15th, early 16th century phenomenon. And Kalidas was born in ancient India, roughly around 5th century AD. Now, Lalitya Tattva. Lalitya Tattva cannot be translated in any of the European languages, including English. But a very, very poor working translation can be aesthetic element. But the aesthetic element of European literature is very, very qualitatively different from Lalitya Tattva in Indic culture or traditional cultures. In case you remember this term, it will give you symbolic power, if not the actual power. Then there is another article, celebrated article, and it is titled Vinayak Dharma. Now, Vinayak is one of the popular names of Lord Ganpati or Ganesh, but he is worshipped as the adopted child of Shiva Parvati, Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. uh, adoption is not the real term which describes Vinayak or Ganpati, because he was not the product of the union of Shiva's sperm and Parvati's ovum, and she was not born as a normal child from the womb of the mother. Rather, Parvati had created, without any help, direct or indirect, by Lord Shiva, her husband. Playfully. Playfully, you understand? Khel khel mein, majak majak mein. The Shastras say that that day she was in a very, very playful mood. And she decided to take bath in open bathroom. And there was nobody, only Lord Shiva was nearby. But playfully, from her pasina, what is it called? Sweat. From her pasina or sweat, Goddess Parvati created Ganpati and made him the Dwarpal or gatekeeper of her open bathroom. Do not allow anybody when I am taking bath. And she was taking bath for a longer period of time. And then Lord Shiva came. Ganpati stopped him. You cannot go. Lord Shiva asked, who are you? He said, I am the child of Parvati. I said, how come you are child of Parvati? I am her husband. I do not know you. Ganpati said, so what? You cannot go. Lord Shiva requested more than 100 times, and then he got angry and cut the head of the Ganpati. When he cut the head, the blood of the Ganpati went to the place where Parvati was taking bath. Suddenly the water became red like blood, and she came. And she was very angry. How come you murder a child just to meet your wife? Cannot you control yourself? Now, Shiva was partly ashamed and partly he was feeling guilt. Then Parvati smiled, but Lord Shiva could not see her smile. She said, unless and until he is alive, I am not going to live with you. In case you want to live with me, in case you want my love, then you have to make him alive. Lord Shiva said, it is impossible because I have cut his throat from my divine weapon called Pasupat. Indian gods have super powerful weapons. His astra is arm. arms and ammunitions, is called Pasupatarth. And symbolically, it is represented as trident, Trisul. How do we make Trisul? But it is not like this. This is like this, Trisul. This is symbolic representation. This is not the actual representation. And it is said that once the Shiva uses this weapon, there is total disappearance of the world or the universe or the cosmos. And this he does when he is dancing in Tandav. You know, there are two dance forms. There are two dance forms. First is called Tandav, and the second is called Lasya. The Tandav is a dance which destroyed the old world order, the old cosmic order. It brings Jal Pralay, Jal water, Pralay dissolution, dissolution of the world by the great flood. This story of the great flood is found in the Semitic religious text, the Old Testament. It is also found in the Christian book, the Bible, and it is also found in the Muslim sacred book, the Quran. And there are similar stories in Hindu Puranas. And modern science also discusses it in scientific idiom. For example, one scientist last year in the month of March called Corona pandemic as the Tandav of Lord Shiva. And he or she had claimed that this will be the end of the old order dominated by Europe and United States of America. Now, the person cannot be from Europe or America, but I would not like to disclose his or her identity because he or she is not one person, it is a group which is collectively known as Philosophia Perensis. Philosophia Perensis. And there are Asians, there are Latin Americans, there are Africans. Okay. Now, in the language of sociology, this Vinayak Dharma will come within sociology or anthropology of myth and symbols. But the way he had presented it in Vinayak Dharma is not at par or is not even homologous with the anthropological concept of myth, of creation or creation myth. And in case one can read, one should read the original. Or if I am sufficiently inspired by your positive response, I may translate it for you in sociological language. But Vinayak Dharma and Laliti Tattva, these are two very, very significant contribution about nominal creation of the world and the universe and the cosmos. And it becomes a prototype of human creation as well. Now, human creation in sociology is roughly equivalent to social action of Talcott Parsons and Max Weber, etc. The ordinary commonsensical translation of action is kriya, activity, काम करना, work. Any kriya or काम which has subjective meaning, any activity or action which an individual person does in the social context, and this action is both voluntaristic and intended. Voluntaristic and intended action, or in the terminology of Robert K. Burton, manifest function. Manifest function. Then there is the last book, मध्यकालीन बोध का स्वरूप. मध्यकालीन, medieval, स्वरूप, form, both consciousness. मध्यकालीन बोध का स्वरूप. Okay. Now we have covered Kumar Swami, we have covered Radha Kamal Mukherjee, we have covered Sri Aurobindo, we have covered Hazari Prasad Dwivedi. The fifth author is Bharat Singh Upadhyay. Please remember, in English, some people call him B.S. Upadhyay. But this is wrong. These are two different people. One is Bharat Singh Upadhyay, and the second is Bhagwat Saran Upadhyay. Bhagwat Saran Upadhyay is a Marxist philosopher, and he is more popular in social scientists of Marxist fraternity. Whereas Bharat Singh Upadhyay is a Buddhist philosopher and Buddhist historian. And he is associated with both the Tibetan Buddhism represented by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, whom we Buddhists call Bodhisattva Baba Sahab B.R. Ambedkar. Therefore, in case you wanted to know what is common between Ambedkarite Hinduism and Dalai Lama's Hinduism, there is only one author and he has written in Hindi. There is no English book which synthesizes or combines two dominant traditions of Buddhism in India. There are other Buddhisms also. One represented by Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Baba Sahib Ambedkar embraced Buddhism in 1956 formally. Although he was a Buddhist formally since 1930s. But then he was not only Buddhist, he was other things as well. For example, he was also influenced by Saint Kabir or Kabir Das, whom Hajari Prasad Dwivedi has written about. And he was also influenced by Jyotiba Phule, a Maharashtrian saint. He was also influenced by a Malayali saint, Narayan Guru. I am talking about Baba Sahib Ambedkar in 1930. Therefore, he was influenced by the Buddha, he was influenced by Kabir, he was influenced by Jyotiba Phule, he was influenced by Narayan Guru, and he was influenced by Sahuji Maharaj, the first Indian who provided the provision of reservation for the culturally and materially excluded castes from the power circle. But in 1956, Baba Sahib formally embraced to Buddhism and he discarded the Western dress, coat, tie, and he had the normal dress of a Buddhist laity, Laity. Now, 3 years after his death, he converted to Buddhism in the beginning of Vikram Samvat, corresponding to the English calendar 1956. And 3 years after the death of Baba Sahib, in the Vikram Samvat of 1956, the Dalai Lama came to India from Tibet as a refugee. And he made Dharamsala in Himachal Pradesh as his headquarters. These two events are very important for the revival of Buddhism in India. But there are other important Buddhist figures in India who have played their significant role. One of them was a person who was associated with Theosophical Society of India. His name may be known to some of you, J.K. Krishnamurti. J.K. Krishnamurti. He was declared an avatar by Annie Besant. Annie Besant, the disciple of Madame Blavatsky and head of the International Theosophy movement and the founder of Banaras Hindu University. One should not say founder, co-founder. Two people, were leaders of a group of people who wanted a Hindu university since before the Hindus, the Muslim had a Muslim university in Aligarh Muslim University. Therefore, in response to or in imitation of AMU, BHU was made. Aligarh Muslim University was made by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan much earlier than the establishment of the Banaras Hindu University. Now he had got some donation, substantial donation, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, from the British rulers of India. But BHU was not established by the donation of the British. Rather, Annie Besant and Madan Mohan Malviya, they got donations from Indians. Of course, Raja of Banaras, the king of Kashi or Varanasi or Banaras, gave the land, and he also gave some donation, but it was not sufficient. Therefore, do you have any idea whom both of them approached? Annie Besant and Madan Mohan Malviya approached for donation. Nizam of Hyderabad. But Annie Besant was a better judge of the psychology of men. In India, it is a proverb. I do not know to what extent you know about it. That although women in India, under the influence of Western feminism, are, demanding equality with men, but in India there is a very dominant tradition, at least in folk culture, if not in cities, in the villages, both tribal and normal, that women are more intelligent, more sophisticated, more clever than men. And I'm very fond of referring to one book, Dangerous Wives and Sacred Sisters, but there are other books as well which deals about this theme. One book is by Ashish Nandi, who was a friend and colleague of Rajni Kothari in CSDS, Center for the Study of Developing Society. He had written many articles where he articulates Indian psychology in contrast to the Freudian psychology or Jungian psychology or the psychology of Erik Erikson or Jean Piaget. And by quoting Mahatma Gandhi, I think it is included in his early book, At the Age of Psychology, EDGE, At the Age of Psychology, where he discusses the concept of manliness and womanliness. Not man and woman, manliness and womanliness. Ashish Nandi, a Bengali Christian, who wrote in 1985 a very celebrated article known as and Anti-Secularist Manifesto. An Anti-Secularist Manifesto. This celebrated article is also included in Rajiv Bhargava's Secularism and its Critics. Ashish Nandi, T.N. Madan, Akil Bilgrami, a Hindu, a Christian, and a Muslim. They have written in Rajiv Bhargava's edited book 3 different articles which say that Western concept of secularism is not relevant for the study of Indian society. In other words, Indic religions are very different from the European religions and the non-Indic, non-Asiatic religions. In the same way, in the book At the Age of Psychology, Ashish Nandi articulates that the concept of gender fashionable in Europe is not relevant to understand gender relations in India. Okay. Then, in the spread of Buddhism in contemporary India, 5 authors are important and their books must be referred to. One is Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambedkar, particularly his conversion with his disciples at Nagpur. Then arrival of Dalai Lama from Tibet to Dharamsala, India. Third, the conversion of J.K. Krishnamurti from Theophist to Buddhist. And fourth, emergence of a very glamorous sannyasi in 1960s in Madhya Pradesh. He was born in a Jain family and he was teaching philosophy in Jabalpur College in Madhya Pradesh. There is a place called Jabalpur, very small town in Jabalpur of 1960. In one of the class lectures, he claimed that I am not a normal human being, I am a Bhagavan, I am a God. And he started calling himself Bhagavan Rajneesh. Many people did not know that he was born as a Jain, not as a Hindu. But there is no concept of Bhagavan in Jainism. Bhagavan or God, there is no concept of God in Jainism. Do you know this? The Jains do not believe that this world has been created by God. They do not believe that there is a God who can give us salvation from our bondage in the world. Now the Buddhist position is slightly different. The Buddhists also do not believe in God, but they have a goddess. But most Buddhists are as clever as anybody else or as foolish as anybody else. Therefore, most people will ask, do you believe in God? The answer is no, I do not believe in God. Now, the supplementary question is never asked. Now, it is not this is not the problem of Bhagwan Rajneesh or Gautam the Buddha or Baba Sahab Ambedkar or me. You never ask us whether I believe in goddess or not. In case you ask, do you believe in goddess? We will say yes. But you never ask. You think that God is masculine, man. Our God is not man. Our God is a female. She is a goddess. Therefore, most writers on Buddhism say that on the question of God, the Buddha is ambivalent or agnostic. No, we are not agnostic. Our concept of God is different from your concept of God. Your God is a male God. Our God is a female God. Your God is very, very forgiving. You can murder or poison or rape in 100 numbers or 1,000 numbers of people, but you go and pray and give donation in the Hindu temple or Christian church, and you are forgiven by your God. Our goddess is ferocious. She doesn't forgive anybody, and she doesn't forget anybody. She does not forget to reward. In case you have done good work, even if you do not demand it, even if you do not seek it, she will reward you. She never forgets to reward. And she never forgets to punish. And her punishment is very, very cruel punishment. How cruel? The cruelty will be ashamed, that it is so mild. When the lady cruelty will encounter the cruel punishment of goddess Tara of the Buddhist, the lady cruelty, the concept will be ashamed that she is so mild, so harmless. Are you getting the point or not getting the point? Therefore, this person called Bhagwan Rajneesh also played a significant role in the spread of Buddhism in the third phase of his spiritual evolution. His first phase of spiritual evolution was when he started teaching philosophy, and he called himself Acharya Rajneesh. In the second phase, he started calling himself Bhagwan Rajneesh. And in the third phase, at the fag end of his youth, when he was neither young nor old, he started calling himself Osho. O-S-H-O. Osho is a Japanese word which means the Buddha or Bodhisattva. The fifth person who played a significant role in the spread of Buddhism in North India is a disputed name. For example, in sociology also there is a dispute. Who is the father of scientific sociology? Some people will say Auguste Comte. Some people will say Karl Marx. Some people will say Emile Durkheim. Some others will say Max Weber. Some others will say Talcott Parsons. In the same way, in the category of fifth person, who played a very, very significant role in the spread of Buddhism, not in India, but at the global level. The first four started their work in India, but they are also quite popular in Indian diaspora. The first person who played a significant role in the rediscovery of Buddhism as an Indian religion is not Max Weber. His religion of India has no section on Buddhism. His religion of India is about Hinduism and Jains. He doesn't include us. Max Muller, the person who made Buddhism popular in the West in a systematic way, are five people. One person is Count Kaiserling of Germany. Count Kaiserling of Germany. And the book he wrote is known as Travel Diary. Travel Diary. The second person who is regarded seminal in the spread of Buddhism is a Japanese scholar, Hajime Nakamura. Hajime Nakamura. And his most famous book is Three Ways of Thinking. And he is referring to the Indian way of thinking, the Chinese way of thinking, and the Japanese way of thinking. That was first edition. But in the second edition, he included a fourth country. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, and Tibetan. Now, this question of Tibet is interesting, if not controversial. Then there was another Buddhist person, Suzuki. But he did not create a new constituency. He only nourished the constituency created by Hajime Nakamura. And then comes Anand Kentish Kumar Swami. He had published similar works on Buddhism. But I have not included any of the Buddhist texts because you will say it is a Buddhist bias. I have given other texts of Kumar Swami which does not directly deal with Buddhism. And last but not the least, there are other three authors from three different countries who are regarded as collaborators and disciples of Kumar Swami. There is a Kumar Swami school in the global village today, and the collaborators include Fritjof Schuon, Schon, Fritjof Schuon. His mother tongue was German. Then René Guénon, a French. Marco Pallis, a British. A.K. Saran, an Indian. And Sayyid Hussain Nasr, a Muslim scholar from Iran. These are part of the Kumar Swami school of culture and civilization. Now, Bharat Singh Upadhyay particularly his two-volume work, Bauddha एवं अन्य भारतीय दर्शन, and A.K. Saran, his collected writings published by Tibetan Institute of Higher Studies, Sarnath in UP. It is a twin city of Banaras, Sarnath. A.K. Saran and Bharat Singh Upadhyay, they synthesized Buddhist philosophy and other Indian philosophy in the same way in which popular authors like Anthony Giddens, Ritzer, Talcott Parsons have synthesized the classical sociology or classical thinkers. Then the seventh author is again a well-known author in Indic studies because he wrote both in Hindi and English. I think his most important contribution for this course is a concept of time, which is different from Kumar Swami's concept of time and eternity. I will not say they are polar opposites, they are not, they are complementary. In case Kumar Swami's time and eternity gives you traditional perspective of time found in all traditional civilizations of Europe, Africa, China, Japan, India, and also pagan civilizations. Therefore, Kumar Swami's work is much more comparative. It deals with the Indic concept of time or traditional concept of time in a very, very lucid way, very simple way. In contrast, Sachidanand Hiranand Vatsyayan, popularly known as Agye, he has written a small article which is transcription of his celebrated, lecture in American university in 1950s. And the original lecture was given in Hindi. Some people have translated that lecture in English as well, but the Hindi one is more authentic because it had the approval of the lecturer, that is Agye. This is a very interesting title, Kaal Ka Damru Naad. Kaal Ka Damru Naad. Kaal is time. Damru, you know, drum, small drum. Big drum is called dholak or mridangam. So in South India it is called mridangam. It is like tabla. But tabla is in two pieces. Mridangam or dhol is in one piece. The small, mridangam, which can be used like this. Are you getting? This is called damru, naad sound. The English, poor translation of English can be echo sound of time emanating from a drum. Kaal ka damru naad. Echo sound of a drum emanating, echo sound of time emanating from a traditional musical instrument, damru. Another version of damru is mridangam in South India and dholak in North India. Now, let us translate Naumena in Indic terms. Naumena in Sanskrit is called Hiranyagarbha in the Vedas. Naumena in Sanskrit had been translated as Hiranyagarbha in the Vedas, and it has been translated by an European author as golden germ, G Golden, golden germ, GERM, golden germ. In the WhatsApp group, the reference can be given. Now in Hindi, Naumena is called Sat Chit Anand. Sat, that is truth. Chit, that is consciousness. Anand, bliss. Sat Chit Anand or Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Satyam Shivam Sundaram. It is Naumena. And these are not three things. Naumena had three dimensions. Naumena had three dimensions or three index, three element. Truth, that is Satya. Shivam, is a divinity. Sundaram, beauty. Naumena had three index, three lakshan. Sanskrit term lakshan can be translated as index. Truth, divinity and beauty. In case all the three are together at one place and one time, then it is Naumena. This is a holistic concept of Naumena. Now you remember Imam Durkheim. The sum total of parts is not equal to the whole. The sum total of parts is not equal to the whole. In the same way, the sum total of Satya, Chit and Anand or Satyam Shivam Sundaram is not equal to the whole, that is Hiranyagarbha. Now there is another term which is coterminous or homologous of Hiranyagarbha or Satyachit, Satchit Anand or Satyam Shivam Sundaram. It is called Rit, Re. It is written Re. Very difficult to pronounce in case you do not know the Devanagari script. Rit. Now, Hiranyagarbha is Vedic, Rit is also Vedic, but these are in two different Vedas. Rit is found primarily in Rig Veda, and Hiranyagarbha is found primarily in Sam Veda and Atharva Veda, and also Yajur Veda. Now the popular term for Naumena is Brahma and Jagat. Brahma is something else. The term, Sanskrit term Brahma had three elements: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And this Brahma has also three elements: Mahalakshmi, Mahakali, Mahasaraswati. In your sociological language, you can call it ultimate truth, ultimate reality, ultimate truth, which is equally Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Ultimate reality, which is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Now, Jagat. What is Jagat? Cosmos. Jagat or cosmos is the tree, and Brahman is the seed, golden germ. Or Jagat or cosmos is the manifestation of the ultimate reality, ultimate divinity, and ultimate beauty, and ultimate truth. On the other hand, phenomena or reality as it appears to us is known in India as Maya and Sansar. Maya and Sansar. What is Maya? Delusion. What is Maya? It is Indra's net. Indra's net. Indra's net is like mosquito net. Have you seen mosquito net or machardani? Machardani is microcosm and Indra's net is macrocosm. Now, Machardani is man-made. Now, in the nature, you have a spider web. Spider web. Are you getting or not getting? Web, you know, and net, you know. Now, fishermen also have net. They have a net from which they get fish from river and sea. Now, what is fisher net? What is spider web? What is machardani? Or what is Indra's net? These are culture. These are culture from civilizational perspective. Enough for today, or should I continue? You people are listening or digesting as well? Should I continue? Or should I continue on Friday? Okay. Thank you.